Hi, I'm Ryan from Gold Medal Bodies, and today we're going to go over how to grip the gymnastic rings. I'm going to cover some basics and also look at some common mistakes. Let's get started. The first grip that we're going to take a look at is the neutral grip below the rings. Now, for today's explanations, the rings that I'm using has a rubber guard, and I chose these rings because it's a little easier to see what's going on. So typically I use wooden rings, but really it doesn't matter what pair of rings that you're using. It's pretty much all the same. For our neutral grip below the rings, when we grip the rings, we'll primarily be holding it from right here within our palm. We don't want to go too deep and have our hand over the top. There is a grip like that. We're going to be discussing that later. For now, the neutral grip, we put the bulk of our weight on our hands towards the top of our palm and wrap our fingers around. Our thumb goes around the ring, holding on lightly. From here, we put pressure down into the ring and perform movements below the rings. For example, a pull here, or even when we turn the rings so that our palms are facing forward for a pull-up position. This is the standard neutral grip below the rings. Some common issues that I see are when people try to overgrip. And what I mean by that is, for example, putting the thumb inside of the rings. Actually don't see this too much, but there's no reason to put your thumb inside of the rings. Something else is where trying to bend the elbow, or pardon me, bend the wrist and pull from here. When you're performing your pulling movements below the rings, generally you want to make sure that you keep your wrists straight and not bend them when you're pulling up. The next grip that we're going to take a look at is the false grip. If you want to get the muscle up, you're going to need the false grip. So let's go ahead and cover the false grip. The false grip begins by placing your hand deeper inside of the ring, wrapping your fingers, and then pulling down into the rings. Now, breaking away from the ring, I want to show you that if you flex your arm and then turn your wrist out, this is actually a good starting point for learning the false grip. We're going to place the ring here on our hand and take it at an angle upwards. This is very different from the neutral grip, where we're holding it across our palm and pulling down into the ring. Here again is the rubber part of the ring. When we perform the false grip, we're actually going to go higher. Each person might have a preference, but in the beginning I suggest to go higher. Thumb stays to the inside of the ring here. Take your hand deep into the ring, placing the ring here. You'll notice I actually have a callus from doing so many muscle ups and using the false grip. Place it here, I wrap my fingers, and I pull down into the ring. Now when performing, or when using the false grip, we generally don't start here. We're of course going to start below the rings. So, some common issues that I see where people have trouble with the false grip is that they try and over grip this by placing their wrist too far inside of the ring. You don't need to go this deep. You can go a little higher and actually start here and rotate the ring down, and you'll find that you'll be in the false grip. Remember, flex and turn your hand out. It's about all you need for the false grip. When you're working on the muscle up, using the false grip, you're of course going to be going from below the rings. So when you lace in here for the false grip, as you go down below the rings to begin the muscle up, don't lose this false grip. Don't let your hand slide into the neutral grip. In the beginning, this is going to be uncomfortable. The false grip will be uncomfortable. However, you're going to have to get used to it if you really want to perform the muscle ups well. So, get this nice false grip and then get used to turning the rings out. this is the proper grip, false grip, to begin movements like the muscle up. Our final grip is for when we're above the rings. When we're above the rings, we want to make sure that we keep our wrist as straight as possible. For example, if you're performing the top position hold above the rings, where you're here, you don't want to let your wrist come to the inside, nor do you want to let your wrist fall to the outside of the rings. Generally, you want to keep this position. Also, there's no reason to squeeze the rings as hard as you can. I suggest when performing a hold, like the top position, to relax your fingers just a little bit. Just hold on enough to help keep you up there. So looking at this top grip when we're above the rings is to make sure that we're pushing down into the rings and keeping our wrist as straight as possible. There will be a little bit of a bend, that's okay. But don't get overzealous and think that you need to bend your wrist like this or like this to the outside in order to keep you up. When performing this, like I said earlier, we're pushing down and trying to keep our wrists neutral. This is the position of our wrist, the grip that we want to have when we're above the rings. That could be for the L-sit, it could be for a handstand, or any other particular movement. Now, sometimes it's necessary to transition into another movement. Let's say if you're in the top position and you roll forward and would like to perform another muscle up. Of course, when you do that, when you roll forward, you'll transition from this position here, letting your wrist fall as you roll over, placing your hand in the false grip. That will allow you to go back into the muscle up. However, before you start something like that, make sure that you have the basic grips down and you feel comfortable in going in and out of those grips. So, those are just the 3 basic grips and some issues that I've seen some people have with when trying to perform them. Go back, make sure that you're working on getting the proper grip when performing rings. If you like this video, be sure to go to goldmedalbodies.com, sign up with the posse so you can get more tutorials just like this one. Thanks for watching.